Okay, there you go. So I'm here with Malin, who I've been working with for the last 3 months. Um, and we're going to do an interview in your experience working with me and what you got out of it. Do you want to introduce yourself? Say something about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Like you said, I'm Malin. Come from Sweden. And yeah, this is my first coaching experience ever. So yeah, but I feel kind of like an expert.
And
Three
you're an
months in.
expert on it. You are.
No.
Expert client.
No. Yeah, no, that's it. I was just kidding, by the way. But yeah.
Okay. And just for any nerves doing this right now for you as we're speaking.
Yeah, a little bit nervous.
Great. That's fine. Great. And so maybe I want to ask you, what was your life like before starting the coaching work with me? What was it like, if you describe it?
Well, I had been doing quite a lot of work, but on my own. I really never was a part of a group or anything. I just did it like on my own. And I felt kind of stuck, not really knowing where to look. And I felt like I was like grasping and reaching, and I didn't know where to reach. And that's where I was stuck somehow before coaching.
And when you say stuck, what made you believe you're stuck? How did you make that perception?
It was just like, that's what I realized from coaching, that it was like just a default of my mind. I felt like I was, to be all right, I had to be somewhere else. I had to get something that I didn't get. It was that feeling always. And like in coaching, it was like one of the best parts of it. It was realizing that everything is here and now. And that was something that I found really hard to do on my own. And was quite easy when I had a guide to, like in every coaching call, we just went back to, what was there right now. And I found that was like always the key to go into like what was there right now. But it was hard to do on my own. Even if I like had the idea that was what I was doing before, it was still a feeling of like the feeling I am having right now is not supposed to be there. It was that, trying to get things out of the way.
Yeah, and not understanding why they're here.
Yeah, and seeing it as a fault that they were there. And so even if I still have all of my emotions, but they don't feel wrong anymore. I don't feel like, and that's one of the things that I really noticed, that there were parts of myself that I really didn't want to listen to at all. And just with you just going to those parts and just listening to them. Because that was, I had done the self-mastery work for a few months before we got started. And I, like, even if I wasn't doing that with awareness, I was still like thinking that some of my parts were like bad. It shouldn't be there.
Yeah, that assumption somewhere of rejecting what's inside you.
Yeah.
So not loving yourself entirely, not loving all of you, which was something we do, is like we love only half of ourselves or 30% of ourselves, which is what we we're conditioned to do as children is like our parents, okay, we love you when you're happy and nice, and but I'm not going to show you the same love if you're angry or sad or you're not succeeding in something. So it's this conditioning. Then we have that with ourselves, where we have these conditions like I love myself, I love this part of myself, but I don't love my anger, I don't love my sadness, or I don't love myself when I fail at something or when I'm vulnerable.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I went into this with like a longing to be authentic, and I didn't get that. Why that was there. And I think that was just a longing to accept all my parts. And I was like really bullying part of myself, not knowing it because I was so used to it.
Yeah, you didn't know it. It was unconscious. Just, oh, it was happening without you noticing.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's really that bullying that's a reflection of something that happened to us. Yeah. And you say it was easier with a guide. Why is that? Why was that easier for you with someone helping you out?
Well, I guess partly because I couldn't really see how much I was reaching away from this moment. So I noticed, like in the beginning of almost all our coaching calls, I was like reaching, like wanting to get somewhere, wanting to like handing over, I want to fix this, you know. And you just guided me back to like, what are you feeling right now? That was that was really just hard to guide myself into. Because I couldn't really see it. I wasn't comfortable being in myself, so it was just like a pattern to reach out all the time. And whatever we were doing, you were just guiding me back to how I'm feeling right now.
You say reach out, but what is reach out when you say that?
Yeah. Well, I was I think that was just like I wasn't comfortable being in myself, being in my emotions, and being authentic and honest about them. So it was just natural when I felt like that, it felt natural to like look elsewhere. And I can see that on so many levels of my life. So it's hard to like pinpoint what I mean.
Is this disconnection from self,
Mm,
and just disconnecting from part of ourself, which even everybody listening to this and myself and you is like it for most cases, it's most problem there is some level where you're disconnected, and we often don't even realize we're disconnected.
mm,
And that's the first step, is to see how disconnected we are.
yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing for me. And I just understood this intellectually, so I thought I had this figured out somehow when I went into this. And I remember there was in the beginning, I had like a part of myself that I really didn't want to listen to, that was like wanted to tell me what was wrong with me. It was like blabbering in the back of my mind, like always, like this narrative, you know, of what was wrong. And I had this idea that, oh, that's just a narrative, I don't have to listen to that. And I was like
It's
really
dismissing it.
away. Yeah. And yeah, reaching away from myself in ways like that, thinking that was what I needed to do, like push away my narrative and push away like and I really didn't realize I was pushing it away.
Yes.
I thought I was doing it all right by like not listening to my narrative. And
yes, which is what we do. We learn all these maybe spiritual practices, or this is what we were conditioned to do by society and our parents. And we think, oh, I'm just going to push away these stories. I'm just going to ignore them, fight them, not realizing there's a real emotional pain behind them. And often there's a real message for us, a real treasure, a real gift that we can get from them if we're guided correctly to them. There's a real message and benefit to be received. And otherwise, these stories just keep knocking on the door until we listen to them. Or in some cases they manifest in problems in our life, in our relationships, in even physical diseases. They manifest in all sorts of ways, which are unfortunate if we don't listen. And so I'm wondering, people are listening to this, for example, are looking for change, and you're saying, I guided you to see what's here and actually feel what's here, and they want to change patterns. So would you, from your experience, explain, from your understanding, how is that actually helping to change the pattern? When you're actually, first of all, starting with, oh, this is here, let's just accept that it's here first and be with it and feel it. Because I can imagine some people will have a hard time wrapping their head around it because they're trying to change it. And in the first step, I tell them like, oh, actually be with it, feel it, accept it first.
What was your question there? Like,
how does that help change the pattern from your experience? When you start with feel, because you said like, I got you to feel what's here, not reach, as you call it. How is that helping?
Well, because it's like a comfort knowing that what I need is never somewhere else. That is always right here, like happening inside of me. So, but I guess it's hard to explain because for me it really felt like a magic. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Like
I experienced that too that way.
Yeah, like being here and now and seeing what's showing up with compassion. I think that was like the ingredient that I was like missing and incapable of like bringing myself. And then you show up and you just brought compassion to like whatever showed up in the moment. And like that was the missing ingredient. And I couldn't really like cultivate that myself because I didn't feel like I had it. But when you showed it, I could like pretty quickly start doing that myself. Like in the moment in my day when it showed up, I just like say your lines. Like, what does Daniel say to this?
What are my lines? What are my lines?
What do you think?
I'm not sure.
No, it was just it was like you never asked me to change. You never like asked me to you just like listen and do that with like a kindness and never like push anything away and there's never any. I mean, that's just amazing to me how much change that has happened with you, like never really telling me to like be different or change something in that manner. It was just a listening, and it's hard to say what you say exactly because it's not hard questions. It's just like listening to how these parts feel without pushing them away or like saying they're wrong and shouldn't feel that way. Like I used to tell myself if something bad showed up, I was like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, for example. Or just being there for that part, and that was like really magic how that changed.
And that creates the change.
Yeah.
So you say I model the compassion, and then you could do it with yourself, and that creates the change.
Exactly.
Which is for me too, as someone receiving coaching and therapy, it's a lot easier when you have someone with you, and then you can do it, and it really is a beautiful, alchemy or magic at how the healing happens. And when the healing happens, the change happens in how you see the world, how you feel fundamentally, then how you see the world, then how you behave according to that. It creates have this new paradigm based on compassion and love instead of fear and self-rejection, which is magic in many ways.
And it's good to have that modeled. If you haven't like seen it for yourself, or
Yeah,
have it really modeled.
which many of us didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can develop that with yourself, which is really beautiful. And I do have like a more, which I want to share, is like a more rational or scientific explanation to this, which is the same to me, which is, there's a few ways to talk about it, but first and foremost, the reason we're suffering is there's areas in our life where we don't love ourselves. And actually, it's a reflection of what happened to us in childhood, which is we were feeling a certain way, and we were told stuff like what you said, you shouldn't feel this way. This thought didn't come from you. It didn't come out of nowhere. You heard it. And so now we carry this inside us. We do it to ourselves 20 years after, however many years after, we carry this pain where we reject part of ourselves. So when we finally meet them, all these parts really want is us to love them, to allow them to be here. And when we do that, they transform, because that's all they needed. And as kids, that's all we needed, is this loving, relational, safe container to process our emotions so we can actually grow and move forward from them. That's to me, a beautiful way to explain it, is how I see it. And there's a quote by a famous psychologist, I think Carl Rogers. I think he invented non-directive therapy or something like that. I think it's called the non-directive approach to therapy. And he says the paradox is that when I fully accept myself is when I finally allow myself to change. This is the paradox. It's a beautiful paradox, and it's true. Because only when I accept where I am do I have the power to change. If I'm not accepting it, then I'm not seeing what's here. If I'm not seeing what's here, I'm not in my power. I'm in the future or in the past, and I have no power to change. There's a power in accepting what is. You want to start from where you are, not from where you think you should be.
So funny that you're saying that, because that happened to me in the end of our coaching. Like completely unexpected to me, a part was showing up in me who stated that I'm not willing to change. And like I had no idea about it. But yeah, it had impact on me to
How did it impact this part showing up, and then
I just like really resonate to like what you explain now, because if I don't want to feel my feelings, if I don't want to be in them and experience them, I'm like always outside of them, pushing them, sort of, but if when I go into them and like allow them and feel them, and with love, of course, there's like even a possibility to change. And I had a part of me that didn't want to feel my feelings. I didn't want to also there was like, I mean, so many parts of me has been like revolving around beliefs that I need to be scared. There are things that are like really scary.
these protections?
Yeah, and changing is like going into the beliefs, because the protection is like it's not weird at all. It's like completely in line with my fear.
Yeah, and you need to actually go into them and feel that protection to acknowledge and make some real change in it.
Mm,
And part of the realization and changing it is, you first of all, you need to face the fact that it's here, and second of all, you need to see that it was really needed, this protection at a certain time and these beliefs. There's a reason why you created them. Certain time they were helpful, and acknowledging that with compassion helps you see how, okay, they're not necessarily relevant now. In this realization, there's a big relief. You can actually let them go now. It's like,
exactly.
oh, okay, I've been carrying this. It's painful. It's about this thing that happened. I don't need it now. I can let it go and move on. You know?
Exactly.
And I'm curious, so if you want to share this, you don't have to. It's like, you kind of alluded to it a bit, but is what challenges, what problems, challenges, difficulties brought you to seek help in coaching? Yeah, what was, you kind of alluded to it, but if you want to get more specific, it's like, what happened, what is going on in your life that made you say, oh, I want to do coaching?
Hmm. Like right now, when I've been doing it a while, I can see like there's more reasons than I thought there were when I started, because I was kind of I had a hard time feeling safe with people in general. So for me, it was just a challenge to get help from someone else, talking to someone else. So that was one of the biggest things, just for me to just do this work with someone else, not like hidden away. I mean, just a year before this, I like pushed the entire world out of my life and like moved out into the forest, and like I don't need people. I can do this on my own. So yeah, that was it, I think. And I don't know, actually. It's hard to pinpoint, but I can say I'm really happy that I followed the little, felt like a little bit of an impulse and a wanting to do this. And I'm really happy I did. I think that was like a more wiser part of myself, like nudging me forward, and like you can't hide from you have to like, if you for me, like in the case that I feel a bit unsafe with people, I can't really heal that outside the context of someone else. So inviting that, and has been very helpful for me. But it's hard to, because I've gotten a lot more out of it than I like thought. For me, in the beginning, it was just a win to do this at all.
To really face that, because you're like facing that fear, that block you created head on, and choosing to put enough faith in someone else, in a process, and be vulnerable. So
Yeah.
first of all, I want to thank you for choosing me, and thank you for your trust, really, because it wasn't easy, was it?
No, it wasn't in the beginning,
Thank
but
you.
it was a little bit easier, quite a lot easier, just a little while into it.
Good.
It was, yeah.
Good. I'm happy I didn't mess it up. Thank you. Thank you for the trust.
And I have to say as well, what that I forgot to say about why I looked into this. It was like this. I think I mentioned it before, but the feeling of wanting to be authentic, and I had this like I felt like I couldn't reach the parts of myself that needed healing. It was like a sort of a freeze response thing. But yeah.
You knew something was inauthentic in how you're living,
Yeah.
or that you it's just so from getting what it's more a feeling inside you. It's not a rational thought saying I want to get coaching or therapy because of this and this and that. It's this feeling inside you that something's missing, or you're not in touch with something in yourself. You're not in touch. But I think many people work around with, and sometimes we don't even know. Like it takes us, I know for myself, it takes us a while to realize when you have this feeling, something's we're not in touch with something in ourselves. And so realizing that, you obviously want to get in touch again because there's a real gift there.
Yeah, and listening to that, because I was just annoyed at it. It was like I thought I was so crappy who couldn't like reach the part of myself that like needed fixing. I felt like, and I really didn't like that voice at all. Like going into this and not hating that, so like showing kindness and love to it instead, and realizing that there was like something authentic there. It was like a longing to, you know, fully express myself and be and feel everything that I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to do that here.
And you had the chance in a safe way, which we don't always have, and we didn't have as children. So it's a real gift to finally get to express yourself like that as you did, and then you get to feel more comfortable doing it in the world, and it doesn't feel as unsafe as before, and you can get to a point where it feels safe. Beautiful, beautiful. What were you want to share, like you kind of brushed through it, but what were like the biggest benefits for you in getting coaching, the biggest results and benefits and key discoveries and insights that you've made in your own language?
Yeah, I think I might be repeating myself, but that's okay.
Sure.
I first of all, I really feel an ease to life somehow. It's like I feel like I mean I'm really into like personal development and like looking into this, you know, but I've it's all gonna come to me here and now. I don't have to like, you know, chase it anymore, and I can really feel that as being true, because it's really helped me to like I talked about before, that in every session we just go into what I feel right here and right now, and that was really helpful to me, and I've been able to do that with myself in everyday life, and that has been very helpful for me. And it's just made me feel less wrong. There's still a lot of emotions, and even more sometimes, because we've gone a few layers deeper. So I'm finding things there.
Sorry.
But I'm also like happier and more at ease. I haven't told you this, but just a few days back, and I actually relate this to like me being more in touch with myself. I had my first like laugh attack where you just cry and roll around on the floor. I haven't had that in like years. It was like 4 years ago. It was so long.
Like a strong laugh.
Yes, yes. And I'm, you know, it's life is a bit more like intense, but I have more ease and more laughter, and yeah. And that I attribute that to being more in myself in a kind way, you know. And I feel like I have the tools to do that a lot more than I used to. And yeah, the biggest insight was, apart from, you know, listening to what shows up with the respect, it was the I don't want to change part there at the end. That was like really big for me. That was, yeah. I really even find it hard to like put it into words sitting here, but
Yeah, what is like
yeah.
you talked about what is I don't want to change?
It's hard to say. But it's like what I've noticed, and that's pretty funny with like the insights I get through this work as well. It's like it's not something that I've worked out and like struggled with. It used to be. So I like um there used to be a lot of like hard work behind it sometimes, a lot of thought process, but it hasn't in this work. Like change has just happened. So I go through out of a coaching, and then during the week I just noticed these changes. And
It's natural.
yes, it's really natural, and that surprised me. I thought I had to like, oh, now I'm going into coaching and I have to like put in this real effort in making but it just happens. It's, yeah, it's amazing.
Happens. You don't push
Yeah.
it, you don't force it. The change happens naturally because you actually what we do by feeling and accepting what's here is you allow the process of life to happen, which is really hard for us sometimes to grasp with our minds. We allow the process of life to happen, and then finally, naturally, the process of life is growth and evolution. So naturally, there is that upward spiral. There is growth. There is that
It really
change.
is. Yeah. Yeah. It has to be felt. It's amazing that it works that
Yeah,
way.
it's hard. It's hard to speak of. It is.
Yeah.
It's just natural change, something in you shifts. And it's not a push. You don't force it. You're not dieting to stop this or that. It's just bam. It's more of a shift in perception. You see it differently. And so because you see it differently, you don't force yourself to do something else. You just see it completely differently. And when you see it differently, you do it differently. And that's it. You can never go back. There's no going back from that. When you see it.
Mm. Really is. Really is. Um, so it's been like through the weeks, I just like this behavior has been starting to show up, that I just like make my life a little bit more comfortable. I used to be kind of hard on myself, even if like I could go like running, and even though I had a pain somewhere, I was still like push through it. But I don't do that anymore. I still like take care of myself, but like even more. I you know, listen to these parts. And after the I don't want to change insight, I think that's been like the biggest ones, because I've noticed like during the day I could see like my beliefs actually is like showing up in myself that I couldn't see that really before, in like small things, like these little opinions, and there was like, after I realized that I have like resistant to change and that I actually can change, there's like, oh, I don't have to feel this anymore. It was like about things that I didn't think were able to change at all.
So I was thinking about that. Yeah, because you had this insight about your power to change, but it's a different kind of change. It's a different kind of power than we're used to. Do you want to talk about that?
I don't know if I can. So I don't know if I have the words for it actually. I think
You discovered, it's how I saw it. How I saw it is like you discovered in you this energy, this powerful energy of change, and maybe all the ways you've actually been stopping yourself unconsciously from changing. And it's not so it's almost like, and I think all of us have it in some sense, it's like we want to change, and yet a part of us unconsciously is stopping us. So we're always pushing through and carrying this huge bag of baggage of things that are slowing us down. And when you see clearly what that block is to change, and it's kind of released, like you release its hold on it. Suddenly it's like effortless change. It's like, it's not an effort to do this with my hand. So it's not an effort to change how I perceive the world. It's not an effort to choose those things. Really what happens to us is why people seek coaching or therapy is because we have this sense that we don't have a flexibility in how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive the world, and how we choose to behave. Like it's almost like we don't feel we control that. It's not enough power.
Yeah, no,
I don't know if it's accurate.
It resonates. It does. It really does. And it's almost like a feeling of I don't know if this, but it's actually how I feel. I feel like I can rewrite my story in a bit. It's like I can actually do that. It's like insane.
Rewrite your story.
Yeah. It's like,
what's that?
These
What does that
these
mean?
fears I thought like that I had to, you know, fight through and really like dig through, you know, to get to the bottom of these fears, you know. They're actually fluent, these fears. They're real, but you know, they're moving, and I can, you know, I can swim through them.
Yeah, they're not these solid, permanent, unchangeable objects. They're not this unstoppable force. They're fluid. You know, they can change. You know, they can shift. Yeah,
they can. So, yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's really good for you. I'd imagine that's pretty good for you.
Yes, I'm still like
I'm
still in the in the effects of it. I think that's why it's hard to talk about, because like this change really isn't in words. Like it happens in feeling and action. So.
Yeah, it's really energetic in many ways. People think like I need to think positive or change. I think no, it's actually how you feel, and you change your inner energy state, which is more about the core beliefs you're carrying, and how it naturally, if you feel love, you see the world as love. If you feel fear, the world is all scary. If you feel angry, then the whole world makes you angry. If you're sad, the whole world is sad. It's really about how we feel, and that impacts our beliefs very powerfully. So
yes, it does.
It's a really good illusion also, because we think the world is a certain way. We're not noticing the filter through which we're seeing. What emotion are we seeing the world through? What beliefs? We miss that.
Yeah.
And we want to live for love.
Yeah. It's really like the way forward somehow, because I just feel less wrong now.
That's not a feeling, Malin. You should know that after such a while. Well, I know what you mean though. You're judging yourself less.
Yeah, I am.
So you feel more, what would you feel more of?
But I still wanna, what shows up? It's just like not an obstacle in the same sense as it used to be. They're still there, but they're not like a threat to me.
It's not a threat to you, which is it's you love yourself still. You feel more love. If I may reflect that, you confirm if it's true or not, but it's what I'm getting when you say I feel less wrong. What I'm getting is I love myself more, and if things show up, I love myself. I don't have this self-hate rejection relationship with myself, which is really the gift out of suffering. The gift is little self-love and compassion.
Yes, that's it. It is.
Hey, thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.